Hi, my name is Matteo Michelli, and today I'm going to be going over QuickBooks Online. A little bit about me. I'm a staff accountant here at Lutz. This is my information to contact me at and to reach me for any questions about this. The agenda today we're going to be going over the general overview, customizations and filters in the reports, how to save and share these reports, how to automate these reports to be automatically delivered to anybody, and how to set report preferences in QuickBooks Online. So when you hop in your QuickBooks account, most will look something similar to this. To get to the report center, all you'll have to do is go over here to this reports and click on this on the left-hand side. Okay. So one thing to make note is now QuickBooks Online is in modern view. I know that it used to be somewhere in classic view, somewhere in modern view, but to the best of my knowledge, all QuickBooks has transitioned over to this modern view. So some things look a little bit differently. So in this report center area, there's a lot of cool, unique things that QuickBooks already has pre-built for you. So in the standard report section over here on the left-hand side, which is where it'll originally take you, you'll have all these drop downs with these preset reports that QuickBooks has made. So custom reports that we'll make later on, favorites that I'll show you how to do, kind of just business overview, who owes you, your AR, things like this, projects. Down here we have payroll, employees. They kind of pre-built a lot of reports already made for us that are helpful for businesses, and they conveniently put them all into their own grouping to not confuse us. And what I personally like to do is the reports that you're going to use all the time that you like to use and want to see for your company is you can star and favorite them like the balance sheet, the profit and loss, AR, AP, things like that. So to favorite something, all you have to do is you see the star over here. If you click that to green, it'll show up in your favorites pile. This is really helpful so you don't have to keep digging around or doing any of that. On the other hand, you can also search for any report that you think is already pre-built or custom that you already made. So that's another helpful tool. Next, let's go over by the sides of these to see what each of these do. So in custom reports, this is where you'll see a list of all the reports that you've made that are custom to you and then are showing you the data that you customize that you want to see. We'll get into that a little bit later. Management reports, these are things that you can have special preferences on to let only a certain level of somebody get to and be able to see. Here's some KPIs. This is important to the business. These are just key numbers that businesses want to see, kind of without all of the clutter of every single individual account. These are just the true numbers that are a lot of people want to see and are at a high level overlook on how the company is doing. Dashboards. These are really interesting because these just are another way to customize QuickBooks Online and allow you to see a different visibility on what you want to see. You can see there's many to choose from. If we jump into cash flow, it gives you a lot of unique data about cash flow and how you're doing from previous periods, and you can set it up with different dates and last year and custom dates, whatever you want. This is really helpful to see trends and certain things about the business that a lot of people think are helpful. Then you have spreadsheet sync. This is a very unique area that I haven't used too much, but I've heard from colleagues that it's very useful and very helpful. So basically what this does is if you run an report in Excel or Google Sheets, that Sheets or Excel can be updated in the Excel and it'll update in QuickBooks, vice versa as well. So say I want to update my expenses, say they're 10,000 in QuickBooks. I export this to Excel that I keep on my person because I think it's easier, and I want to make it 15. I change the number to 15. Then when you log back into QuickBooks, it'll then be 15,000. Just another way to kind of make it for the consumer. So if they don't like working in QuickBooks and they like working in Excel, this is one way that they can get around that. Performance Center, similar to dashboard, this gives you more visuals on kind of important figures that you might want to see and benchmarks, accounts that are important to you and your business. You can customize these by adding charts down here. Industry, if you have different industries in your company, this is how you can set it different. In this one, we don't have any, so I won't go over that right now. You can change the dates on all of these in the top right-hand corner of the small one. And yeah, this is just a really helpful way to visualize some of the data that QuickBooks Online has for you. Here's some financial planning. So this section is kind of specific. So if you want to look at your cash flow review, you can set this up. Monthly outlook on cash flow. It just kind of does what it says. It's cash flow overview on how your company's doing in that department. Cash Flow Pro, this will teach you a lot on how to start planning, and you can create your own plan for cash flow so that you can then in the overview see how that you're doing in terms of the plan that you set up. They have really helpful videos that I would very much recommend watching to help you set these up. Budgets is another great way to do this, which you can luckily create in the spreadsheet sync that we were talking about earlier with Excel. This is another way for accountants and business owners to create a budget in QuickBooks or in Excel and link the two, and then be able to track that with the data that QuickBooks is constantly updating and that your accountant is constantly updating, so that you can track if you're on budget or if you're off budget and where exactly you're falling short on. Forecast is another great tool, similar with budgets. You get to create a forecast, use the data in QuickBooks to track it, your accountant can track it, and everything will be able to be visualized for you to see and see which parts are doing well, which parts are doing bad. This is a great way. Again, they have another video, which I highly recommend watching. Let's go back to the standard reports. So if we jump into a balance sheet here, there's a lot of unique things on the customizations and filters that we can kind of go over here. So on the top left-hand side of this report, you're going to see the reporting period. So these are the three boxes that are important to the reporting period. In last month, so in this reporting period, you can change it to last month, last week, last quarter, next week, next 4 months, kind of whatever you want. You get to play around with it. So if we just do last year, it'll go to 2025, and it'll go from January 1 to December 31st. Now you can always custom date this to be, say you want to see just quarter one. So you can type it in like this. And then this is just going to be the quarter one information. You can also get there if you want to look at like last quarter, this quarter, it'll pull that up. If you want to do last quarter, sorry, there is last quarter. And so then it already pre-fills the dates for you. This is very helpful for these custom reports that I'm going to show you in a little bit. But for right now, this is just a good way to show you what data range you're going to be getting in these. Next is this accounting method. So you can choose cash or accrual. Later, towards the end of this, I'll be showing the preferences to auto set this. But if you want to see how you're doing in cash, all you do is click on cash and it'll change. And then if you want to go back to accrual, click on accrual and you'll go back next and it'll change. So display column is the next category that we'll go over. So if you click that down, it'll go over, you have lots of options to choose from class, customer, product, store, days, quarters, years, vendor. QuickBooks Online does a great job of customizing on what exactly data we want to see and from when and how. So if we go by class, you can see that On this account, we have the classes set up as different locations. So we have Lincoln office, Omaha office, and not specified. And if we scroll down, you can see that this inventory asset for this amount was coded to be going to the Omaha office. And so if you want to see on a location basis on how you're doing, on how each office is doing, this is a great way to see how things are going. And you can look at depreciation and things like this. You can put fixed assets in each category to see what you're allocating towards each office or each location. All of these other different unique things, all these different services. And then to go back to the normal view, all you have to do is hit select. The next is comparing to. I use this tool all the time just to kind of see how companies are doing year to year or period to period. So if you click on, let's just say that we want to look at, let's go for 2025, and we'll do all of 2025. So if we do all of 2025 and we want to see how 2025 compared to 2024, we go to this compare to button, click it, click on previous year, and say that I want to see you can see it automatically updates behind me, and say I want to see the dollar change, so I don't have to do any of the math. Here we go, we can look at our checking account was this year, and this last year, and then this is the net change. Cash, we had negative 5,000 last, in 2024, we had 20,000 with a negative $25,000 change. This is really helpful to see the health of your company year over year, what's going up, what's going down, how spending is going if you're looking at this in profit and loss, year over year. It's a very helpful tool I use this all the time. Next, so we'll go over to this customization tool. So these are all the filters that you get to, a lot of the filters that you get to put on. These are kind of common things that a lot of people use all the time. I use all the time. And so they put these already out in the open. If you click on this customization tab, you get more options. So in the filters option is the first thing that we see. So if we want to filter by customer and we want it to be, we only want to see our balance and what we're contributing to AA, ABC, and bank. So if we click that and we click apply changes, this is just the cash, this is just the savings that's being applied to those three customers that we decided on the filters. So this is a good way to see if you wanted to kind of pinpoint what customers, what vendors, what class, what store, all these different products, and pinpoint what's being allocated to these, what's getting spent on these. This is a great way to narrow it down to that, so you'll only be seeing the information that you need to see. Next, we have number format. So this can show negative numbers in red, which is very helpful. Good thing we don't have any. Oh, we have to hit apply. My bad. So this instantly outlines where your negative numbers are. This just helps it be clear, so you don't accidentally miss this little negative sign right here. And yeah, it's just another way to highlight and help you show off some of that data. You can divide these by 100. You can don't show the currency signal. You can change all of this to be, so if you want your negative to look like this or to look like this, it's really up to you. It's all these customizations that QuickBooks gives you, and however you like to see your data, that's how you're going to be able to customize it however you want. You can also round decimal numbers, round to the nearest whole number. So if you apply that, you can see no decimals, only whole numbers. You can decide how many decimal places you want to see here. And yeah, another way to clearly show data the way that you want. Variances, you can show positive and negative trends. One thing that I highly recommend all accountants do when they first get into a QuickBooks file, like a balance sheet or profit and loss, is go to this show non-zero or active button over here and click non-zero. So what this will do is if you can see what we need to get rid of. We need a little bit more data, it looks like. So before I click on those, you can see here on 1020 savings, we have 0 here and 0 here. This savings account obviously hasn't been touched in quite a while, so there's not really a point of having this on our balance sheet. So if we go over here and click non-zero, non-zero, and if you know that you have a company with a lot of accounts, a lot of them maybe are not active or not really in use, or you just kind of want to clear out all the zeros because they're not important to you. This is what I always do the first thing when I enter a report. Then you hit apply changes, and that savings is gone. And if there were any other zeros, they're also gone. Calculated fields. So this section, you can add, remove, edit custom calculated fields in this report. So this can pretty much just show, this pretty much just shows how you can see how your security deposits are going up against your accounts payable versus your vehicles, and it just automatically calculates the report so you don't have to do any of the math work. Here, this is another way just to visualize and customize the visual part of the data is the title. So if you want your assets, this title right here to say something else, you can change it right here. You can change current assets to this. This is just the way to change the title sections of each of these on your balance sheet and any other report that you're in. Now that was all under the data section of the customize tab. If we go over to the visual section, this is all going to be helpful for visual things. So if you're going to be printing out these reports or exporting them or showing them to somebody and you want them to look a certain way with your company logo on them, or you don't want the reporting period, or you want the company name, don't want the company name, it's really all up to you. If you want the report title first, you can see that it changes to balance sheet and then the company underneath, and if you change it back, you can do the alignment, left, center, right. You can change up the footer. So if you don't want all of this information, the exact time that this was completed, you can click time off and you can see the time change. So it just shows what basis we're in and the date that it was completed. And if you want, you can take those off as well. And you can change the alignment as well. So then in row settings, you can have banded colors, so it's more appealing to look at visually. So if we click blue here, you can see that every other becomes blue. Again, this is really just visual stuff. It's not necessarily going to be showing you the different sets of data that you want. This is all just visual. You can also do this with columns, and then in cells, show empty cells as blank, or you can, like here, you can see it blank. You want a dash, you can see them as dashes. Whatever you're comfortable, however you want to see the data, this is where you're going to be able to really customize and get it to exactly where you want to go. Borders, all that sort of stuff. And just to show you that I know that in classic view versus modern view, in classic view, a lot of them had different kind of looking customization and filter tools on them. And so if we go from balance sheet to profit and loss, you can see that they look extremely similar, if not identical. The customizations are pretty much one-to-one exactly the same. Some reports may have some slight differences in some. First, let's show you how to save and share these reports. So to save and share is right here at the top of the report page. You have this refresh. So one cool thing about QuickBooks Online is you can have multiple tabs open, unlike in desktop. So to do that, you can either just duplicate this, and then you can have two different sets of this open. So I can have this open to creating journal entries and type in whatever I want, however much I want. and change it to cash. And then receivable. So I can have this open here and date it to 12/31. I have this open here, and then on this balance sheet, I can have this open. So I can look at both of these at the exact same time, which is really unique and very helpful if you're trying to do a lot of different things within the QuickBooks. So if I go ahead and save this, oh, forgot the customer name. Let's go one, let's go AAA, and let's save. So my cash is going to go up by 5,000, but I need to refresh this first because it refreshed 2 minutes ago. And this is what, so if you're working tandemly, if I refresh this, you can see that it went up by 5,000. Next is this email. So this is how you'll be able to just directly email it to whoever you want. You put whichever email, CC whoever, add your own subject, and in what format you want them to be sent this in, either Excel, CSV, or PDF with the message. So the way that they'll receive this is they'll get this message linked with whatever form you wanted here as an attachment. And yeah, that's how they'll get it. They'll get it sent in an email from QuickBooks. And it's pretty nice and pretty easy. And very helpful to just send the email straight through your QuickBooks account. Next is printing. So printing gives you a lot of options here. It shows you what it's going to look like in a preview. You can download, print off here, and add it to your Google Drive. You can also change the orientation to landscape, have breaks or not, fit all into one page. However you want to see it printed out, this is how you're going to be printing it out. Next is export. So export has a couple different options. So you can export this to Excel, to Google Sheets, to PDF, to CSV. And yeah, this is helpful if you want to continue the work in Excel, or you want to see how things are going to look and play around with that in Excel, or you have to give a presentation in Excel or Sheets or in PDF, and you want to change it up that way. That's how you're going to export. These three dots will help you schedule a report, add to management reports, and then you can switch to classic view. I didn't even know that you could, but so if you really, really, really don't want to learn about the modern view, it's no problem. You can always switch to classic view. Again, gives you this little message, and then you can switch to classic or stay on modern. But I would highly recommend staying on modern and trying to learn modern, because that's what QuickBooks is trying to phase out, is the classic view. They're trying to get everybody onto the modern view, and right now that comes preset standard. But as you can see, they had schedule reports here, which we're going to look at right after we create a custom report. So that's saving and sharing. Now let's go on to customizing and creating your own reports. So to customize a report, let's say that you want that you always want to get the same data. So you always are looking at last month. You do this on a monthly basis. You're looking at this by vendor. So you have this by vendor. You want to see how your balance sheet is broken out by vendor, comparing it to previous periods of the previous month, and you want to see the dollar change of each of those. So then you update this. Maybe we add a little bit more filters. So we'll change it to be the non-zeros because we love those. And we want to filter by product or class. We want to filter by class. And then we can do Lincoln office, Maine, and Omaha. So if we want to apply those changes, and I know that it's not showing the right data, like all that much data right now, but let's say that this report, we want to see this every single month, and we don't want to continuously do the hassle of making all of these changes. So since we already made this, and this is exactly how we want this to look, we'll add a few visuals here. So we'll add a little bit of this and apply the changes. Here we go. So this is exactly how we want it to look. We love printing this off every single day, or every single month. And this is the report that we always want to be able to jump in and see how our company is doing it. To do that, you can hit Save As. So if you save as, this will make it a customized report. So you can change this to balance sheet by vendor, by class, because that's what we have this filters on. And so if you do this, this will make the changes to all standard custom reports and override all of the default report settings. I don't recommend you click this. I recommend that you just create them as you need them. You can share this report with anybody you want, all, none, just for you, up to you on that. So then you click save. And then you can see that it was saved. So we just saved this. If we leave and go back into a balance sheet, you can say it looks normal, back to how we had it beforehand. So to get to that custom report, on the left-hand side under custom reports, you'll be able to see it's right there front and center. And this is why that date range of last month, instead of clicking a custom date range and having it by last month or last quarter, last year, or prior quarter, whatever you want, having it like this will allow it to update so that in the next month we don't have to change the dates like it does on here. So whenever I open this up, it'll always be January 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. And so that'll always be what this shows. But this will always show last month. So if it's December 2nd and I want to look at this report, it'll show me November's month and vendor and class. So this is really helpful to keep that in mind for the date ranges. Next thing we can do is edit it just like that. But if we go back to reports, this next part is really cool. This is really helpful for business owners and accountants that kind of want to be updated regularly and scheduled on how they want to see different reports. So let's jump into profit and loss. And we can use a custom report. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of up to us. So as you can see earlier, we had the schedule report button that I kind of skipped over. But if we want to have just a normal profit and loss that QuickBooks has always sent to us, or if we want to custom make them, it doesn't matter. Either way, it's the same formula. So you'll click these three dots right here, click schedule report. So you can change the name, the workflow name. What do you want QuickBooks to do? Schedule and send. That's the only option right now. And yeah, so this is how you'll be able to name it. Then you can get to change however you want, whenever you want to get it, and how many times you want to get it, and when this will end. So if we start on today's date at, say I want to be updated at the end of the day, end of the workday, every single day, on how our profit and loss is looking. So this will repeat once a day at 5 p.m. American Chicago time, and I want it to never end. I want to be sent these updates and this email of this report every single day forever. And this will just be able to, if you're an accountant and your boss wants to see this, then this is how you can set this up so you don't have to constantly remember to email them, or if anybody wants to see it, it doesn't matter. This will be able to email them and it'll continuously do this until you tell it to stop. So you can enter any email that you want to send to, the subject of the email, P&L. We can go by daily profit and loss, and then what format you want them to see this in. So Excel, PDF, CSV, and a message. So just like how we were talking about just emailing a regular report to us, just a one-off time, it's the same kind of thing that the person receiving this email will see. So they'll see an email from QuickBooks with this message attached, with this message typed out, whatever message you say. So it'll show this message with an attachment of either this Excel, PDF, or CSV, whichever you choose. This is a really cool tool that QuickBooks Online added and really saves a lot of time and a lot of headache to remember things when you want to continuously send a report, or a manager or somebody always wants to be consistently updated and wants to be able to constantly be getting the information. So that's how you'll automate report delivery. Just get out of here. Next thing that you can do is you can create a new report. So these are all, besides the customized ones, these are all pre-built reports that Quickbooks has already given us, and are very helpful, and they've done a really great job of kind of trying to encompass most, if not all, of the things that we're going to be able to need or want to see in our accounting software. But if you want even more, if you want to dive even more into specifics, you can create your own report. So you can kind of base this report on whatever you want. If you want to base it off sales, bills, journal entries, transactions, banking transactions, expenses, whatever you want. If you click blank, create. Now you can watch a video to help you set this up, which I would encourage if this is what you're needing to do, because this is fairly specific information that you're going to be trying to pull out of QuickBooks. But you can also start by adding data columns, or start by creation wizard. The creation wizard is just a great way to kind of help you out. So if you click the wizard, this kind of gives you what do you want your customer report to be made up of. Let's say we want to look at bills by class for the last 12 months. Just like that, the wizard made us all the bills by class that we had for the last month. So we have the not specific, we have the Omaha, and yeah, you can open and close these because there's obviously a lot of information, but it also gives you how many there are. And at the bottom, we'll go to a smaller one. So the Omaha office shows 12 bills, the dates that were happening, the due dates, the amounts, the open balance, the accounts payable, and the status. And yeah, so these are the bills that happened by the class for the dates that we had in place. And you just build your own custom report. It's pretty easy, it's pretty simple. And if you really want to drive in on one specific thing that you want to see, as you can see, that was yeah, and then you can save this as the custom report. And so you'll never have to, kind of like with the customized reports that we worked on earlier, this is another way to pull the data that you want to see, that your company needs, that you guys need for your businesses, exactly how you want to see them. You can change this the same way with the customizations, filters, how we went over earlier. One thing I want to go over that I didn't go over earlier is some of the customizations. So when you get in here, you see obviously this cash has this amount of detail, accounts receivable has this, but when I hover over it, it has an underline. So if we jump into the checking account and click on that, it shows us all the information that happened for the allotted time. So if we go by last year, this is all the transactions that went through this checking account this last year. So you can see OPPD and all these bills. And yeah, this just kind of gives you what's inside of the overall checking. So you see this large number. What's making that large number? You can see it's the beginning balance, and then what's increasing or decreasing it. These can also be customized, which is very helpful. So these have a few more customizations, different customizations than the outside overall report is, because these are more transactional reports and detailed reports. If we want to see by columns, which is a pretty common tool that's used when you're jumping inside of these to sort. So let's find an account with a lot more transactions going on. So maybe cash. And we'll go by last year. Not as many as I was hoping. Accounts receivable. Here we go. Okay, so accounts receivable has a lot of information in it, and it's got credit memos, payments, expenses, invoices, all this kind of crazy stuff. And say that you want to be able to pinpoint exactly what's going on. So if you have variances that you think are weird, like say in your accounts receivable that you have a client specific software that you're using to track all of it and QuickBooks isn't quite matching up to what it is, sometimes this can help detect the variance in the problem. So one thing to do is by columns in the customize filter button, if you want to see instead of this amount button, I know that in QuickBooks Desktop, they used to have preset locations for when you would add different columns in and take different columns out. But QuickBooks Online does not. It goes off of how recently they were added on. So if I want to add a debit section, it'll get added. If I just apply that, it'll get added right after the balance. So obviously that's not exactly where you want to put it. We'll add credit here too. And this doesn't look very clean, doesn't look very nice, how the amounts are still there, which are mirroring this, and the balances are still there. So if we take the amounts off and to change these around all of these different columns, all you have to do is grab the balance and then drag it down to the bottom or whichever one, hit apply changes. And that's a much cleaner data set. You can get rid of any of these, it doesn't matter. However you want to visualize the data that you're seeing, this is how you can visualize it. Another really helpful tool to pinpoint variances is this groups by section. This is one of the most helpful sections when you're trying to figure out why an account might be lower than expected, higher than expected, negative when it's supposed to be positive. This kind of groups things into different types of categories so you can easily pinpoint what's supposed to be there and what's not supposed to be there. Specifically with transaction type, this can be very, very, very helpful. So if we apply this change, you can see that it goes into various different transaction types. So right here we have invoices, then we have expenses, credit memos, payments, journal entries. So because if you're an AR company and then you have invoices and deposits that aren't supposed to be where they're supposed to be, and your account's negative for some reason when it's supposed to be positive, this is a way to kind of break everything apart into what's supposed to be there and what's not supposed to be there. Another very helpful tool to, again, try and figure out why certain accounts might not be matching up. Next to go over is some of the report preferences that we can send. So to do this, you're going to be going to the settings gear icon up at the top right-hand corner. And then you're going to be going to account and settings. This is where you'll be able to find a ton of information on your company, and you can change it. And yeah, if we go over to this advanced section of the settings, you'll have a lot of different options. So right here, you can change your accounting method. So how I was talking earlier about how you can preset it to be cash if you're a cash company, or accrual if you're an accrual company. This is one place where you can preset that. So every report that you open is going to be automatically open to one of these. You can change customer labels, you can change counting. So if you have a different fiscal year than the calendar year, this is where you can go to change those options and again, change the accounting method and close your books or turn off your books, turn on your books, whatever you want. Enable account numbers is here. I know that this has been a problem for people in the past where they can't figure out where their account numbers are. It's in the settings under the advanced section under the chart of accounts. But if we scroll a little bit further down to other preferences, this is how we'll get a little bit more of that visual data filters and customization preferences that we're looking for. So this is how you can change your format of your dates to be, you can make it 2 years, however you want. This is This is up for you to change, drop-down menu, however you want to see the data. Your currency format, this is how you can change it to tons of different options. There's European versions, there's dollars behind it, however you want, customer labels, however you want to refer to your customers, donors, guests. This can be kind of more tailored to the exact type of business that you're in. Duplicate check numbers, ton of different customizations that if you want, this is the place where you're going to be able to change all of those preferences. Once again, if you need anything, please feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for watching.